Clark, thank you so much for talking about Mysterious Circumstance, The Death of Meriwether Lewis. I saw it this morning and I felt like I was watching Rashomon. I like the different points of view, like the different stories that came out of different theories about how Meriwether Lewis died, and I thought overall it was a great movie.
Well, thank you so much. You told me you were working remotely today. Well, yeah. I was working remotely when I wrote that because it was at the very start of the pandemic, and I had this creative urge. And while you're at home, you're all isolated, and so I utilized that to come up with this particular film and a few others. But this is the one we chose to go forward with. Slight different maybe than Rashomon in that we were. That's seeing the same story from different perspectives, but we had that slight shift each time. So I don't want to say too much,
Yeah, right. We don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen
right.
it yet. But I will say they'll be quite surprised with the theories that came up with how Lewis possibly died. I mean, of course, the official ruling was a suicide, but it's so interesting to see these possible other theories of what could have happened. And
we really, I love history. I guess that's obvious from the movie that I made. I love history, and especially history that seems to be a little bit unsettled. And this particular piece of history is just a little bit unsettled. And I know that because while I'm not a historian, I'm a filmmaker and other things. I do love that circle of people, and I listen, and they argue with such intensity about this, and they all have plenty of evidence on their side for their point of view. There's mountains of evidence for each way that Meriwether Lewis could possibly have died. And so we wanted to try to work many theories using everything that existed out there into this movie. And we think we did a pretty good job of letting everyone who has an idea, they have their moment in the sun in our movie.
And I gotta say, one thing that really stood out was the cast of this movie. I mean, they were all phenomenal in their roles. I mean, you have a legend like John Schneider, Evan Williams. I remember him from Degrassi, and he did such a tremendous job on this movie as Lewis himself. Just, they were overall fantastic. What was it like working with everyone on the set?
Well, John Schneider's a big star, and Evan's a star too. But John, being around someone who every single person in America knows, it's a little bit daunting, really. I was a first-time director, and first day on set, I got John Schneider in buckskins riding a horse, breakneck speed, riding up to this remote cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I'm thinking, boy, this is what have I bitten off here, Yeah. But everyone was so personable, and they all bought into the story. The script sold a few people on it, Evan being one, as he read the script and then he wanted to do the movie. And as a writer, when I put my writer hat on, that's very flattering that they read the script and then they want to do the movie. But, we put quite a challenge on Evan Williams in this, and in the way he had to be different. I'll just leave it that. A different Meriwether Lewis, a different way of looking at it several times. And I think he pulled it off masterfully.
I totally agree with that, especially when you have, it was like a schizophrenia, if you will. It's like you get different personalities through each theory, and I think that's what really drove it. Like each story, it was a different version of what we expected. Like it was like it's like one person going through like all these changes, like if you will. I'm thinking of Jack Nicholson. Like first he's mild mannered in The Shining. And as the movie progresses, he becomes more sociopathic. But we get to see it in different wavelengths in terms of Evan, the way each story came along, each theory.
Right, and Evan and I talked about that. Each one of those portrayals is equally Meriwether Lewis. And if you mentioned The Shining, Jack Nicholson in The Shining, he was that all along. He was all of those things all along, and it reveals itself as it progresses. And so, I, not to compare myself to The Shining, but to hear that is another great compliment that our lead actor can pull that off and add those different layers to his performance as the movie progresses. I will say this, you mentioned the whole cast, and as an independent filmmaker, I've watched a lot of independent film. And one of the things that I think is a mistake sometimes that independent filmmakers make is they don't take their cast, the quality of the cast, all the way through the movie. And I think we didn't have a single person in this movie who didn't meet the standards and stand toe to toe with John and stand toe to toe with Evan. And I think that really makes a difference in the end of our movie, is that you don't lose the illusion of a movie anytime with a bad performance. Everyone, top to bottom, was stellar.
Yeah. Even Billy and Sonny and Amy, those three, like as the grinders, and then Lewis's friend who's trying to figure out what exactly happened. They just pulled it off wonderfully, especially when we get to see the grinders also, like in way Lewis, in different wavelengths. They show different personalities throughout their theories, the different theories as well, and I think that's what helped drive the film, like kept me wanting to watch it. Like, you never know what could happen.
Happy accidents happen along the way when you're making a movie, and to see the story develop between the grinders and Wilson on the fly, sort of, and to see that dynamic and the tension building up. It's like you have two movies, really. In many ways, we have two movies in one, because you have two different time settings. And again, not to give too much away, but there's two different time settings. And you can imagine what's happened in the 2 years since the grinders were there and Lewis died, and then the next time you see them. So what evidence do you find in their portrayals in the 1811 version of the grinders that might point to one of the ways that Lewis actually died? There's just so many layers to this movie, and I like to say that I put all of them in there from the start. Some of them actually developed as we were making the movie.
That's awesome. How long did shooting take, and what challenges did you face, if any, during production?
Well, we filmed this movie in a crazy short time. We had 13 active shooting days, over 15. We came back for one pickup day, so we had 14 active shooting days in 16 days. The challenge was we filmed on location, very near where the actual events of Lewis's death occurred. We were about 90 miles south. We were in very remote northeast Mississippi, where I actually live not too far from there. I live about 30 or 40 miles from where we filmed, in a place called Tishomingo County, Mississippi. And the topography there is unique in Mississippi in that it's hilly, and you see it in the film, hilly, boulders and so forth. And the historic Natchez Trace runs directly through the place that we filmed. So Meriweather Lewis walked on the ground that we were filming this movie on. So we found that to be meaningful and impactful for us. But the challenge of that, getting all the way back to your question, the challenge of that was there were a lot of places we had no power whatsoever. So everything was run with generators. We are definitely in the middle of nowhere with horses, and we had our dog actor there as well, and dog trainer, and a whole film crew, and we literally were a traveling circus, so to speak. We had tents, we had plywood floors and generators running, and we did our crafty in a tent, in the middle of the wilderness. So.
Wow, it's like the spirit of Lewis himself just evoked on you guys. That's what I felt. I mean, if you're right there, and that's what's the best thing. It's authenticity, and you really get that in these type of movies. When it comes to history movies, you rarely get anything authentic these days. They have to sugarcoat it, or I'm glad some people try an alternate universe type thing, which in a way was like this, but we got different theories of what could have happened. But the fact that you shot this where some of this stuff actually happened, that just makes it more authentic. And I think that's what we need more of with these type of movies.
Well, we definitely went about it from the start with historical advisors, and I didn't rely strictly on my own historical interests and readings and so forth. I used some other experts to guide me a little bit and make sure. I wanted to do some sanity checks because I did want that authenticity. I want people to see this movie and to know that's exactly what it could have looked like. We're not saying that it's exactly what it did look like, but it could have, because our wardrobe is close to authentic. Our cabin was within just a few decades of the time period. The cabin that we used was an 1840s cabin. Lewis died in 1809, so that's pretty darn close. And we felt like it was a near replica with the center hallway and everything, as to the way we had seen Grinder Stand described.
That's amazing. I mean, I hope people will get to see this movie, because I think, in a way, it's very important. And sure, they're going to they might see it as what actually did happen. This happened, this happened. But the same thing, they can think, oh my God, this could be a piece of American history that's actually right before our eyes, something we rarely get these days.
I've had other conversations about the movie, and people really don't realize they read the 2 sentences about Lewis and Clark in their 7th grade history book.
Yeah.
And they went across and they explored the Louisiana Purchase. They went to the Pacific Ocean. They came back. A lot of the trails named for them. They had these hardships, but you don't realize this last chapter of Lewis's life. He was the governor of the Louisiana Territory when this happened. He was a superstar in America. He was Charles Lindbergh. He was one of the Apollo astronauts. I mean, that's the level person that was just traveling through the Tennessee wilderness, when all of a sudden he made it all the way across the country and back, but he couldn't make it through a known road in the Tennessee wilderness. Maybe he committed suicide. We don't say that he didn't, but there's a lot of questions. Questions that this man, with all that going for him at 35 years old, died in this way. And to shed a little light on it, to not declare that this is the absolute, but just to make people think and to understand, not only did he die in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, Lewis and Clark, but also to see what our forefathers went through and how they were so far on the edge. We get uncomfortable if we run out of Diet Cokes. I'm upset, and they would launch out on a journey essentially of 1,000 miles that Lewis did, and just launch out with nothing but their wits and their strength and the few tools that they had and a horse, and they just took off. It's humbling to know that people before us had that kind of adventurous spirit.
Exactly. So where's the film going to be playing, and where's it going to be screening and everything? And because I know a lot of anyone who's listening to this will probably want to probably get into this movie and want to see where it's going to be coming out. So, well,
we're in 7 states starting this week. We hope to grow that, obviously, but we're in 7 states, and we're very proud of the theaters that are carrying our movie. We're in Tennessee and Malco Theaters, and Cordova and Collierville, Tennessee. That's in the Memphis area. And then we're in Nashville area at Malco, and Smyrna, Tennessee. We're in Shelbyville, Tennessee at the Capri, and we're in Athens, Tennessee at Athens Movie Palace. Our big U.S. theatrical premiere is in Tampa, historic Tampa Theater, 1,238 seats. And that's this Thursday night. Now, that's a huge event. We have a lot of connections with Tampa. We went there and we did really well in the film festival. We met a lot of the people. We saw the Tampa Theater, and we really wanted to go back there, and they were gracious enough to be our U.S. theatrical premiere. We're in celebrity theaters in Louisiana. We're at Limley NoHo 7 in L.A., so we're in North Hollywood there at the Limley. We're opening in Washington State at Fairchild Cinemas, and just today, Polson Cinemas in Polson, Montana joined the
bandwagon. They're on the bandwagon.
Yeah, they're on the bandwagon. And that's a good thing. We don't have people jumping off. We got people jumping on. And so that's great for us. And we're opening in 3 locations right here in our home state of Mississippi. We're opening in Jackson, Mississippi at the Capri Theater. We're opening at the Magnolia Civic Center, New Albany, Mississippi, the Coliseum Theater in Corinth, Mississippi. And then the second week, we're opening at the Temple Theater in Meridian, Mississippi. So we're actually opening in 4 locations in Mississippi. So
that's awesome. And I gotta tell you guys, you gotta see this movie. I mean, when I saw it, I was blown away at how everything was structured, and the cast was phenomenal in this. And I hope everyone does get to see Mysterious Circumstance, The Death of Meriwether Lewis, when it comes out. I'm in Florida, so anyone who's in Florida, you heard Clark, go to Tampa, go to the Tampa Theater on Thursday for the U.S. theatrical premiere. You all need to go see this movie, especially if anyone who's a history buff, a U.S. history buff, they definitely will want to see this movie, because this is probably one of the most authentic history movies I've seen in a long time. And Clark, man, I gotta say this is a great debut for you, and I hope you get to do more films.
Well, I've got several more in this same historic period that I want to do. I'd love to have my own MCU, the Mysterious Circumstance, MCCU, Mysterious Circumstance Cinematic Universe.
Oh, that would be awesome. I mean, there's this director. I know there's a director, Daniel Ferens, and he did alternate history. He has I call it the alternate history cinematic universe. You know, he did about the Amityville murder. Like, he did his own take on the Amityville murders, the Sharon Tate murders. He did the Haunting of Sharon Tate. Like, he basically did what could have happened, what could have been done before giving us the reality check. And what was the other one? The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. He did those films. So I call it the alternate history cinematic universe. I would love to see the Mysterious Circumstance cinematic universe, now that you just brought that up.
Sorry, I lost you just a second. I'm coming back. There you are.
You're good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I have 3 other screenplays written in this vein. I love the Natchez Trace. I'm 57 years old, so I'm a late in life starter in this industry. But when I was a kid, there was Davy Crockett on Disney, and there was Daniel Boone on television. And that time period always interested me, when America was expanding into the frontier. I like the idea of when the Wild Wild West was still east of the Mississippi River. And that's a time period that's not really talked about much. And I got a lot of stories there I'd like to tell.
That's awesome. And I hope you do. And I'll definitely be one of the first ones to see it, because that'll be so great to watch.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today.
All right. Well, Clark, thank you so much, and take care. And I hope everyone gets to see Mysterious Circumstance, The Death of Meriwether Lewis. You hear where it's playing, so I hope you all go to your local theater and check it out. And once again, thank you so much, Clark.
Thank you. Pleasure being with you.
Everyone take care. Bye.